Ayoubb Bouaddi is the name on every football fan's lips right now. Looking like a seasoned veteran, he spent 90 minutes dismantling the Brazilian midfield on his World Cup debut, not just surviving the mental pressure, but the actual pressure from some of the best players in the world. But Bouaddi's performance, 91% pass accuracy, 6 recoveries, 4 tackles, and the rest, isn't just a fluke. You don't get into that position by chance. You get there by showing the kind of maturity, ability, and composure that has every elite sporting director scrambling to sign you. From his breakthrough at Lille to talk of a big money move to Premier League and Champions League giants, this is why everybody wants Ayoubb Bouaddi.
The shining light was 18-year-old Ayoubb Bouaddi.
For a player, that guy.
Morocco. Yeah, what a player. Plays for Lille, right?
Not for long.
Not for long.
Before we get to the teams who are keeping an eye on him, if you're looking for a highlight reel of a 30-yard screamer or double-digit assists, you're looking at the wrong player. Bouaddi, 18 years old and straight out of the famed Lille Academy, isn't a 10. He isn't even a box-to-box midfielder in the traditional sense, but more of an anchor, a tactical architect. In an era where modern football is obsessed with individual flair, Bouaddi is the antithesis of that. A player whose true brilliance is only visible in the context of the game's flow and rhythm, as opposed to small flashes of brilliance. Across the 25-26 Liga season, he accumulated over 2,300 minutes for Lille, recording an 84.7 passing accuracy and 151 total ball recoveries, whilst also ranking in the 81st percentile for possession won amongst midfielders in Europe's top 7 leagues. Actually, in European competition last season, he had an almost 90% pass accuracy and created 21 chances too. These aren't just numbers for the sake of numbers though, they are the footprint of a controller. The long story short here is that he can win the ball back, knows how to protect it, and then moves it on with either a pass or by dribbling himself. And the Brazil game was the perfect example of that. He is essentially the insurance policy every manager dreams of having, especially those with a tendency to be the dominant forces in games, both from a possessive point of view and from a high press point of view. Because he'll keep it moving and control the tempo if you've got the ball, and make sure you're not caught out of the back when you've sent numbers forward in attack. So, with that all mapped out, it sounds like he'd suit most top teams, and he probably would. But there are a few in particular who I think could use his set of skills.
And still, the champions of Europe, Paris Saint-Germain.
The first is maybe an obvious choice, staying in Liga, making the best even better. It's PSG. For them, signing Bouaddi isn't about filling a hole because they've got something missing, it's about holding all the cards in the deck. With Vitinha and 𝗕𝗏 already established as the best central midfield duo in Europe, back-to-back Champions League trophies are tough to argue with, Enrique's engine room is elite. They aim to suffocate opponents through unrelenting pressure and rotation, and Bouaddi is the final piece of this tactical puzzle. Strategically, PSG need a controller to ensure that when one of their primary 8s roams, the central structure remains impenetrable. For example, that semi-final of the Champions League last year against Bayern was an end-to-end goal fest in the first leg. Sure, PSG's attacking quality saw them win the game, but I doubt Luis Enrique's overall game plan was to concede 4 goals at home and then just hope his side score more. Their midfield that night was wide open. They needed someone to offer defensive insurance in the middle of the park, and that's where Bouaddi's 151 recoveries and 59 tackles come in. As mentioned before though, he's not a one-dimension tackling machine, and by adding a player with 84.7 pass completion, PSG won't have to alter their all-out dominating game plan. But at this point, you're probably wondering if this makes any sense for them from a numbers perspective, given how Vitinha, 𝗕𝗏, and Zaire Emery, don't forget, are all young, highly valuable, important players in the PSG project. Well, the reason is bound up in the harsh realities of modern football, where clubs with the money and the power have everything they need to create a monopoly. PSG aren't just going to be improving their 11, they are holding the present and future to give themselves immense strength across the footballing landscape. On the pitch, goes without saying, there's a congested schedule, it means players need rest, and Luis Enrique would love to swap a few individuals in and out without reducing the quality of what's on the pitch. But in the transfer market, it also strengthens PSG's grip on everything. If anyone wants Bouaddi, they'll have to pay big. If anyone wants another player, Zaire Emery for example, they can go into negotiations knowing they've already got his replacement in the squad. It then leaves the question, what's in it for him? Well, it's fairly simple. He continues his footballing education alongside some of the world's best, pursuing every major trophy on offer year in, year out, and being the next in line to take control of a midfield who, right now, are looking like they'll be part of the most dominant force in Europe in the next decade. But that, for me, doesn't make the most sense, I'll be honest. Dominating in Liga is all well and good, but the Premier League is a different challenge. And there are two teams who I think should be fighting at the front of the queue.
The Arsenal cannon fires again!
Mikel Arteta's obsession with control is what drives Arsenal's interest. The Gunners have recently conquered the Premier League, but their tactical evolution has shown one recurring vulnerability: depending on Declan Rice to perform two jobs at once. In a season where Zubimendi started well then faded, Lewis Skelly started nowhere and finished strong, Marino faced injury worries, and there were more and more questions about Odegaard's contributions, Rice was immense. He was everywhere because he had to be. Both a primary ball winner and the tactical pivot, he was the only constant in the side, leaving Arteta with a question, a nightmare, of what would happen if Rice wasn't available. Well, how about Bouaddi? Arsenal's tactical blueprint, which regularly inverts fullbacks to create numerical advantages, requires a pivot who can seamlessly transition between defensive solidity and forward-thinking output. Bouaddi's ability to win 1.8 tackles per match and his elite press resistance make him the perfect profile to rotate with Rice, or allow Arsenal to be even more aggressive with their midfield shape. Bouaddi's tactical intelligence allows him to slot into the double pivot without degrading the defensive integrity that defined Arsenal's title-winning campaign. For a player who already demonstrates high tactical awareness, Arsenal represents the ultimate educational challenge. It is the place to learn how to dominate both defensively and progressively under the most elite coaching standards in modern football, ensuring that he reaches his maximum potential and develops into a versatile all-action midfielder. It also is the chance to join a team hoping to create their own era of domestic dominance and a platform to test himself in the most aggressive, fast-paced league in the world. Also, look at some of the youngsters who have come through at Arsenal recently. Ethan Nwaneri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Max Dowman. Being a teenager isn't going to go against him in Arteta's eyes. But, having said that, there is a potential warning if he chooses Arsenal, and it's twofold. The first reason is that whilst those youngsters from the academy were trusted by Arteta, young signings from elsewhere aren't. And that's because they aren't bought in the first place. Arsenal buy players ready-made, experience, early 20s mostly, or heading into their prime. Of the 35 signings Arteta has made since joining the club, just one was a teenager, Marquinhos, who was a low-risk, low-fee punt on the player who turned out to be, well, not much. It's basically uncharted territory for Arsenal as well as Bouaddi. The other issue is that, unlike with PSG, Arsenal's title challenge every season will require them to be at their best every week. No easy games in the Premier League, no chance for easy minutes or cup games under less pressure. The second Arsenal drop their standards in any competition, they'll be found out, which again plays into the levels of trust involved between manager and player. So PSG and Arsenal are good options, but I think the last one might be the best. Video aside for a second though, and here's a hypothetical question for you. Imagine you're on your holidays during the World Cup for some reason, or travelling somewhere for work and you can't get your World Cup fix. You've got your TV licence sorted to watch the coverage in the UK, but not abroad. So what do? Well, our office friends at Tom's Guide have the answer, because they've tested a wide range of VPNs, and NordVPN stands out as a strong option. Fast, reliable, and it comes with a 60-day money-back guarantee, enough to cover the entire World Cup tournament so you can try it risk-free. The best bit, for all 442 viewers, there is also an exclusive offer available. All you have to do is click the link in the description to find out more. Under new manager Andoni Iraola, Liverpool are undergoing a tactical shift. The philosophy is clear. We saw it at Bournemouth. Drag the opposition into a frantic, chaotic shape, and then ruthlessly exploit the resulting disorder. Currently, Liverpool's engine room is packed with talent that wants to be involved in the final third. Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister, and Dominic Szoboszlai are carriers or progressive passers who thrive when they have the license to drive the ball forward, exploit pockets of space, and contribute to goal-scoring opportunities. However, the current tactical burden on these players is simply too high. They are frequently tasked with splitting their duties between offensive creativity and the defensive discipline needed to shield the centre-backs. This hybrid responsibility stifles their output, and when a player like McAllister is formed to constantly look over his shoulder to account for a defensive transition, his attacking potency is diluted. This is what happens though when a system is built on aggressive pressing, attacking overloads, and high velocity football. The most common downfall is that there is structural exposure. Under Andoni Iraola at Bournemouth, the midfield anchor was Tyler Adams when fit, and he wasn't just a screen for the defence, he was the tactical compass for the entire team. He had to be mobile, press resistant and disciplined. Here we go again, it's Bouaddi. He's essentially the supercharged evolution of that role. He brings that same structural discipline, but with the added layer of elite technical security and physical dominance that allows a team like Liverpool to push their wingbacks higher, secure in the knowledge that the centre of the pitch is locked down. So what's in it for Bouaddi? A club well known for supporting their players through thick and thin, with a history of developing young talent and providing the sort of environment where players become the finished article, as opposed to being brought in with the expectation that they already are the complete player. Of course, there's the same benefits as Arsenal when it comes to testing himself in the Premier League and the chance to play Champions League football on a regular basis, but something about this really feels like it makes sense. Regardless of the destination, Bouaddi has proven one thing. His World Cup debut wasn't a fluke, it was a formal announcement. All that's left to do now is make a pretty big decision and sign on the dotted line.